You guys ready to roll? I think so. All right, go ahead.
Debo said last night that DJ is going to be the starter again this week. What have you seen out of him? He's had some great games. He's also had some games where he hasn't looked that great. Is there something in that South Carolina was able to do to him, or what have you seen out of DJ this season?
I've seen a guy that, you know, is a great competitor. Obviously a threat in the run game. That's number one. They do a great job of designing plays, design quarterback runs. He's hard to bring down. He's really, really good in the open field. He's got a big arm. I think he can make all the throws. You can see him make a lot of down the field, deep shots when he's on. They're extremely accurate and very, very dangerous throws that he can make. He's got some big receivers on the perimeter. They can go up and get the ball. And you know, when he's hot, he's really good. And so, you know, you got to pressure him. But then again, you have to be smart in how you do that, because the quarterback run game can come back and bite you a little bit if you're not very, I guess, cognizant all the time of the potential quarterback runs, because they get you down a guy in terms of numbers. But he's a very good quarterback, so we got our hands full.
What did you like that you saw from Will Hardy, Marcus Allen, who were blessed to do a lot of playing time, and even Legend played an awful lot the other day? What did you like that you saw from those guys?
They did. All three of them. I was proud of all three of those guys. It's hard for true freshmen to come in and in an environment like they did Saturday and play well. And both of the young guys, Will and Marcus, both played very well. I was very proud of them, and the moment was not too big for them. They played a lot of plays, and they played at pivotal times in the game where they had to make plays, and both of them were able to do that. And then I thought Legend did some really nice things as well. And we're going to count on those guys moving forward to have to, you know, finish out the rest of the year and play a lot of snaps for us. So it was good to see those guys get an opportunity and do well when they got the opportunity.
Will had been playing, he'd been part of the dime package and stuff, but Marcus hadn't really played much since earlier in the year. Have you seen in practice the kind of growth from him that when you saw him perform the other night, like, okay, we kind of saw this coming?
Definitely. I've been watching Marcus, and we've been giving him more reps in practice. That it was not a shock to me that he got into the game and performed well. He's extremely competitive. He's been growing as a player in terms of learning the defense all year long. We've seen that happen in practice. And, you know, obviously injury forced our hand to, you know, be able to play some more young guys Saturday night, but we were even planning on that before that because of his progress at this point. So I think he's going to be a really, really good player, and I think you'll see him show up, you know, as the next two games unfold. I think you'll see him show up a good bit because he's really a talented young man.
Gene, the defensive numbers in conference play have been obviously significantly better than this before. Sometimes when you watch week to week, maybe you don't pick up slight improvements, but when you think back to the beginning, like the App State game to now, is there one or two things that you say we've made a massive leap in particular areas?
Well, I think that we've played more consistent would be number one. We've still had our moments of explosive plays that, you know, you're always trying to, you know, hedge against. But I think the reps and just the guys settling down into the defense has really happened. I don't feel like we try to create new things every week. We just try to get better at what we do. But I think, you know, we have been more consistent, without a doubt. I think there's a comfort level in the defense now that maybe wasn't there earlier in the year. And, you know, I think I really got to give our guys a lot of credit because, you know, even when things didn't look great, even when we performed poorly on the field, they never changed their practice habits. And I think that's really huge, just like in anything in life, right? You are what you practice, you are what your habits say you are. And they've really, really practiced well all the way through the season. And I think that, we're starting to play, and our habits that we've created are starting to carry over, and we see those habits in the game. So, I'm proud of them. We've definitely improved. Not anywhere close to where we want to be, but I think the improvement is there.
Gene, going off of that, so what do you tell your defense this week? You talk about the improvements and struggling and everything during the year, but this is one game for tomorrow. So what do you tell your defense this week?
Well, number one, they got to go out and have fun. I mean, you can coach an entire career and you can play an entire career and never have the privilege to play in a game like this. So the first thing they have to do is go out and enjoy the moment and have fun with this, because it really is an honor. And like I told them yesterday, it's not an obligation, it's a privilege. So you got to approach that with that type of mentality and go out there and have fun. But also, don't let the moments be too big. Go out there and play and execute like you would any other game, or like you would in practice every day. And that's really the message every week, right? So playing in these championship games they're fun, and I want them to embrace it. And you never know when you get a chance to do it again. But we have to execute at a high level. We have to make plays when the plays come our way, within the structure of the defense. And see what happens in the end. But the main thing is I want them to have a great memory, and I want them to go out and have a lot of fun and enjoy the environment. And like I said, there's only a few teams still playing. Everybody else is watching, so they need to enjoy that.
Ask Mac about the lack of a pass rush. He mentioned all the injuries you've had along the defensive front, but moving forward, how do you generate pass rush with those front guys? You guys have obviously done a great job recruiting along the defensive line, but how do you generate that pass rush, especially in a game like this?
Yeah, well, you got to win your one-on-one battles. Typically on just about every play, you have 3 one-on-one battles and a 4-man pass rush. And, some of a lot of, I'll use Saturday night as an example. We had a 3-man pass rush a lot because we felt like dropping 8 was going to be effective, which we do a good bit of. So some of it is design of the defense. I think we have to do a better job of winning our one-on-one battles up front. And I think we have to do, and every game is different in terms of what your objective is in terms of pressuring the quarterback, right? Sometimes you do it with significant pressures and blitzes and things of that nature, but then again, you have to make sure that, you're good on the back end with your cover guys. So I think it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of us, deciding how aggressive we want to be in terms of the nature of how we call the defense on that day, combined with, we have to do a better job of winning one-on-one battles. So that'll kind of always be the challenge.
Given the injuries you have in the secondary, we're not sure if any of those guys are going to play this week. That's got to be a challenge for you, and does that make you want to protect the secondary a little bit more?
Well, I think you always have to, just regardless of what your plight is with your defensive line and injuries and things of that nature, I think everything starts with how well can you cover back there, just in general. And then from there, you decide how aggressive can we be where you're leaving these guys in a lot of one-on-one situations. So that'll always be the forethought and at the forefront of everything we do when we design, what we want to do defensively. And when you're down bodies and you're down some guys, then that certainly is taken into consideration. Don't know where we'll be Saturday night in terms of that. But just generally speaking, me personally, that's why I always start. How can we hold up back there? Will we be okay? And what can we do to make sure we're not putting guys in a position to fail? And, so we'll have to evaluate that as this week goes as well.
Kamen has pretty much taken over the jack spot. I think he played all but 7 snaps at the jack the other night. You lose him as a rush end, what he can do there. So is part of the problem with generating a pass rush up front the fact that he has to play jack now and you don't have Noah out there, so you're kind of lost a little bit on the rush part, especially also Dez as well. But Kamen specifically, what do you lose from him as a pass rusher when he doesn't have a hand on the ground and he's playing jack and he's got more responsibilities?
Yes, that's a good question. Well, first let me say that the jack spot is still a rush, part of the rush, and he did a really great job of that Saturday night. I think he had 4 or 5 pressures. And he forced a couple of throws in there that were, errant throws because of, his ability to rush the passer. He's got a knack for that. And so that, we understand that, and even though that he's at the jack position, and sometimes he's in coverage, not a lot, he's still part of the four-man pass rush. So we always keep that in mind because he is one of the better pass rushers that we have. Moving him to that position, I'm really proud of him because there are some new nuances to the position that he's had to learn. And he's moved over there pretty much full-time now, obviously, for obvious reasons. But we will never put him in a position where he's just going to be a guy that's dropping and, all that. We'll never do that because he's really good at what he does. We give him the option. He can have his hand down, he can be up, he can do whatever he wants as far as when he rushes the passer. But he was really effective at that the other night, and we know that.
So he has that leeway himself to determine whether he puts a hand down or not in certain situations?
Absolutely.
And he's a smart guy, so I would
Yes.
imagine you're pretty pleased with when he's chosen to do that and not.
Yes, and that's part of the thing that I enjoy. When guys are really good football players and have a knack for doing certain things, then we give them the leeway to, be able to put themselves in a position where they're the most comfortable. And I think he likes doing both. I think he's equally good with both. But when the shoe fits, he can wear it. So he can do what he wants to do. And he's really smart. He's a good player, so we trust him in that regard.
Is there any tell there if my hand's in the dirt and I'm coming, if I'm standing up, I'm dropping? I mean, is that a concern for you guys?
Well, it would be if it was always that way. So it's not always that way.
Talking about the pressure and the lack thereof sometimes, and then playing the corners off, how do you decide scheme-wise when you want to push your corners forward or keep them off? There were some occasions that I know you guys don't listen to opposing players, but Ben Finley in the postgame said he felt like he was on a camp out at times with all the time he had to throw and the looks. That being said, how do you sort of marry the lack of pressure with what you do with your corners there at the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, it's, we have to decide the ability of our guy versus the ability of their guys. We have to decide whether corners are going to have help or not. So we'll press and we'll play off based on coverage, based on the concept of the coverage, and based on how much help they do or don't have. So that's pretty much the long and short of it.
You guys good?
Good?
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Sean.
it.